Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome the father-daughter duo from Catalyst Crime, bassist Matt and lead vocalist Zoe. How you two doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Fantastic.
All right. Your debut album is coming out October 22nd on Massacre Records. It is cinematic symphonic metal. I'll tell you guys, you gave my earpods a workout last night when I was listening to this album.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It was a good thing. You know, I got a brand new pair and I said, well, let's try these suckers. And I'll tell you, if there's anything you're going to take a test drive on a pair of AirPods on, it's the new Catalyst Crime album.
Fantastic. So you listened to it at night, right?
Yes.
So how far did it invade into your subconscious as well?
There were moments where it was really there, you know.
Fantastic.
The music, the lyrics, and everything. That was it really took me to some places. Good places. The other thing that I liked about this band was your keyboard player, Jonah. I have interviewed before with Pyramaze, and he actually comes from a town that's about 20 minutes away from me.
Yeah, he is from you. Mm-hmm.
I hope you didn't have to grow up with him, though, because, man, he can be a real pain. Just kidding.
No, I'm a little bit older than him. But when I interviewed him, I was able to bring up places in Montpelier, Vermont, where he grew up. And he was like, how do you know this? You know, how'd you find this out? I'm like, I'm 20 minutes away. So it was very cool. I'd like to start right at the beginning. Let's go with the name of the band, Catalyst Crime. Where did that come from?
You know, we wanted to pick a band name that would invoke imagery or a storyline of some type. And I don't want to define what that is for the listener. I want the listener to decide, you know, what does that mean? But I think in any way, it's going to invoke some sort of a storyline. And I'm really excited to hear what people think that is. Very
cool. And then the cover art jumped out at me. Is it Stefan Hielman? Do I have that name right? That did the cover art for the album?
Heilemann. Stefan Heilemann. Yes, Heile.
Okay. How did you hook up with him?
I worked with Haile on the Atrocity album artwork a few years ago. And of course, he does amazing artwork for bands like Epica, Camelot, etc. And so after I worked with him with Atrocity, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly the artist I want doing our album artwork as well. And he's a great guy, super talented. So of course, the end result was everything we were hoping for.
Very cool. And then some big time behind the board stuff, production, mixing, and mastering done by Alexander Krull. How did that collaboration come about?
I met Alex about 5 years ago on 70,000 Tons of Metal, the big heavy metal cruise, and we just hit it off instantly. We saw all the bands together. We ate all the dinners together. We just talked because we had some really similar backgrounds. We're both parents, you know, working in music, and he is just one of the most fabulous friends and human beings I have in my life. So when I asked him to record and produce the album, he jumped on board immediately, and of course, extremely happy with the end result. Very cool.
Let's get Dad in here. Matt, how did you come to be getting into the band and everything? This has got to be pretty cool. Speaking as a father, working with, you know, one of your children, there's nothing cooler, is there?
No, there really isn't. Particularly at this point in life, I was back up here. That first wave of like thrash, heavy metal, Metallica, all those things, that was part of my high school experience. And so I grew up with that stuff and I played in bands and did those things. And then once Zoe came along and then once her little brother came along and some of her other younger siblings, I had to put music aside for almost 30 years. And then there were some earlier bands that Zoe was in that I would pitch hit in on occasionally and play if there was a local gig, and it was lovely. So then she offered me really just the opportunity to play on the album 2 years ago. And I had to get up to speed because it was quite a challenge, having not really played seriously for years. And then my own life changed. I retired from my job as a school administrator and having more free time. And so she asked, would I actually like to join the band? And apparently, I guess I still look young enough and cool enough to like sort of be in a heavy metal band. I had to admit at first it seemed a little odd, but the idea has grown on me over time. And one of the coolest things about it is that it sort of inverts the normal relationship. Usually it's dad who has the life wisdom and experience and knows how things work and how this all is done. And in this case, I learn a great deal from my daughter about how the industry works and things like the video shoot and stuff like that. So I have enjoyed that. I love learning, lifelong learning, and it has been wonderful that way.
So that must be pretty cool, having been a teacher now to be a learner. You know?
Yes. All the best teachers are always learners. I mean, we can put on either hat at any given moment. And I also just love to play bass. I loved it as a kid. As I said, all my friends wanted to be guitar players, and I heard Geddy Lee. I wanted to be a bass player. And it is simply, I couldn't have imagined being able to come back to it at this point in life and pick it up and be serious about it.
Yeah, very, very cool. And then to look across stage and see your daughter standing there has just got to be fantastic.
Yes, we've performed live together about half a dozen times, and it is an entirely, it's just an amazing feeling.
Zoe, how is it for you to look across there and see your dad?
I think for a lot of people, it would be like, oh, I don't want to do stuff with my dad. But my dad is actually really cool. I always tell people this. I'm like, actually, he's really cool. He's actually the person who got me into heavy metal originally. He took me to see all of my first concerts. I've seen Rush with him. I've seen Iron Maiden with him. So getting to perform with him, it feels natural, and it's so much fun.
Very cool. Now, I did text Jonah ahead of time. I said, can you give me some sort of tidbit going into this interview to get Zoe, ask Zoe about? And one of the things I found interesting was he said that you send him like just raw vocals, and then he composes entire songs around your vocal.
Yeah, actually, we have a very non-traditional writing approach here, in that I do just send him literally vocals on a click track. So I'll set the BPM for the song, and I'll set up the click track so he knows where the structure is. And then I send him my vocal lines, and he composes all the orchestrals around it. And I like this approach. We both do, because it really keeps the focus on the melody, on the hooks, on keeping things singable, So that actually, it's been a really nice way to write.
Cool.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting observation, because I've often thought, having been a heavy metal listener now since the beginning, when they started with the guitar first writing does tend to wipe out the melody, especially in heavy metal, because you simply have a chord progression, and then you hear a vocalist trying to structure something on top of it in that way. So there's some real merits to Zoe's approach.
And how is it for you then when it comes time to put down the bass lines?
What I love about the way that both Jonah and then Kay write the music behind is they leave a tremendous amount of space for me as a bass player to work under and to work with. Most bass playing, for better or worse, is simply doubling what the guitar does. The bass players I love, again, Geddy Lee, Steve Harris, those guys, they really worked within to add value to the song for bass for what it is. So I think, especially once we get out on the road and we can play live, it is just such a joy to be a bass player underneath the space that they give me to work.
Very cool. I made some notes on a few of the tracks here that I kind of just wanted to toss out to you. Just let you know what I'm hearing and my thoughts and stuff. And again, this is purely me. So starting with track 2, Projection of My Mind. You got that soft intro and outro. In between, you've got the clean and harsh vocals. I mean, that's an incredibly dynamic song from start to finish. A lot of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, movements like that. Can you give, either of you want to give a little insight into that one?
I have to tell you, that was the song. Sorry, Pook. That was the song that convinced me to jump into the project. I think both in terms of the song itself and then the lyrical content, what Zoe was writing about. That's the song that really caught my imagination and made me want to be a part of it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we actually all, first of all, thank you for your kind words about that particular track, because I think the whole band kind of feels the same way, that is a song that best showcases everyone and what we're trying to accomplish musically. Everyone kind of gets their time in the spotlight for that song. You go through a full range of vocal styles. Really, I think it was the first song that I had written for this album. I think I actually wrote this song a couple of years ago at this point, and I'm not sure if you picked up on it, but a lot of the themes are about social media. But also, I also think that the end result, the end message of it is people are complaining about the world around us. They're complaining about social media, but there's this great quote from St. Augustine that says, people complain, oh, the times are bad, the times are horrible. In our case, social media is bad, social media is horrible. But such as we are, such are the times, and such as we are, so social media will be too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's all in what you make it. Definitely.
One of the things I really enjoy about my daughter's writing from a lyrical perspective is that there is for symphonic metal, which is a genre that came up, after I came of age. It seems to work upon a few basic themes: love lost, love found, love lost again. It's sort of thematically fairly limited. And so Zoe explores a lot of themes that really break out of that mold and break out of that kind of rut in that way, and are just really interesting. So both as your dad, taking some fatherly pride in it, but also as a musician, enjoying a much more expansive look at the world than what you often get within this particular genre.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into a lyric that jumped out at me on Twice Upon a Time. The line, "Tomorrow will be our yesterday, silver and icy blue lace upon my face." I've always loved songs that use colors, crystal blue persuasion, crimson and clover. There's a UFO song about silver green and something or other, love to love. I love that imagery. It automatically hooks me, and I really like that, Zoe.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Can you tell us what sort of inspired that?
Yeah. I actually have, I forget what the proper term for it is, but I have that mental condition where I associate sounds with colors. So particular chord progressions, particular melody structures invoke colors for me, in the melody for me in Twice Upon a Time. So I decided to include them in the lyrics.
Very cool. Love it. Love that stuff. And then the song "Break Even," I found that whole lyric fascinating. I try not to get too deep into interpreting or anything, but it just sort of really made me think. Is there a bit of a story behind that song?
Break Even thematically, I think, is a little bit more akin to what you typically hear in the genre. It is about a relationship of sorts, but it really is also about this idea that a perfect relationship, be it romantic or something else, is really even. You're on the same level playing field. It's give and take. It breaks even, Mm-hmm. So, so there's this idea that we settle for so many relationships in our lives that are not even. They're unbalanced to one side or another. And so I wanted to kind of explore that concept a bit with those particular lyrics.
That's awesome. The next one that just, I was so glad I got a lyric sheet with this album, because a lot of times I don't. And when I did, I was like, "Ooh, this is cool,"
Thank you.
"Chasing the Ghost, Our Memories, a Novel of Crimes." Oh my God. It's like, yes. Yes. So many times we remember, you talk to people and they remember all the good times, and you think of not so good stuff that you did, at least in my mind, and that line just completely jumped out at me. Brilliant.
Thank you, sir. No, I appreciate you saying that. I think, as kind of this coping mechanism, our brain tends to try and let go of the worst things we've done, because, of course, we still have to convince ourselves that we're good people every day. If you start thinking that you're not a good person anymore, you kind of lose this motivation, I think, to keep going. And so our brains protect us from some of the worst parts of ourselves and the worst things that we've done. And the truth is, if we do push those down forever and pretend like, we're perfect, we've never done anything wrong, not only do we inhibit our growth, but at some point down the line, it is going to come back, and it's going to just flood us with this sense of, wow, any chance that we had to grow from that, to learn from that, or even better, to fix it, is gone now.
Yeah. Again, that was just, when I read that, I was like, I've had some sort of life-changing stuff happen to me in the last year or so. And when I read that, it really hit home. It really hit home with me. It was awesome. In a positive way. I want to throw that in.
Thank you. I hope all your life changes are positive. So,
yeah, for the most part, they've been pretty spectacular the last bit. So, "Condemn Me to Chaos," great song, but the video, you got like 23,000 views. I looked at the view count there. It hasn't been out, a little while here. Amazing concept, amazing stuff. You got Bill McCoy to do makeup, who worked with Walking Dead and everything like that. Tell us a little bit about that. Either one of you who want to talk about it.
Oh, you go first, Dad.
Well, again, this is one of those inversion moments where, Dad's never done this before. So we're on this big green screen and we're working all day long, and it's incredibly exhausting. And you're working for something you have no idea what it's going to look like or what goes on. And then to see the finished product months later, like 3 months later, because at the time, you got to know, when you're filming a video, you're playing air guitar. All right, you're playing air guitar all day. And so it's like I'm, 13 again in my bedroom, right? Jamming out to air guitar. And you feel like a total goober half the time. You're like, okay, I feel ridiculous. And everybody's standing around watching you. And you're like, okay. But then to see the end project, like, wow, that actually turned out really cool. Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's fascinating. It was just fascinating to be part of.
Because that's what I was going to ask you too, is coming from your, the rather old school where you were before to what is doing now with videos and stuff like that must be amazing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we used to film our concerts when I was in college just to watch yourself play. But, old style VHS,
right.
That was like amazing stuff at the time. Yeah, it was just quite eye-opening.
So you're playing air guitar. Zoe, I've got to ask you this. Do you actually sort of sing the vocal as you're doing this, or do you just mouth it? I've asked a couple different singers this, and I've gotten different answers each time.
The thing is, if you're shooting the same song for 12 hours straight, you can't sing that whole time. You just cannot sing 12 hours straight without blowing out your voice. And so, no, I was just mouthing it the whole time. I wasn't going to risk my voice for, again, you're not even going to hear the audio that's actually going on when they make the video. So that wouldn't have been worth it for me.
There's nothing glamorous about a video shoot. It's a lot of sitting around all day and then having a camera stuck in your face at 16 angles, and then you go back and sit down and wait. It's tough. It's work. And then for the storyline parts, those were exhausting. That was a 14-hour day. It was super hot inside of the murder barn, as we called it. There was no air conditioning. They like the opening scene of the video where I fall to the floor. We shot that like a dozen times. So every time they would kind of change the camera angle a bit, like, okay, fall on the floor again. After 3 or 4 times falling on the floor, you're developing like bruises on your hips and stuff, Yeah. So it was not the easiest experience, but I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Where did the concept of it all come from for the video?
Like a lot of my lyrics, or perhaps the band name, I like to keep some things open to interpretation for the listener so that they can kind of apply their own meaning and their own story to it. But I will say that every shot in that video is very deliberate for the message that we're trying to send. It can be graphic at times, but, I was going for a very authentic message. And I think authenticity sometimes requires things to be graphic. The one thing I will say that I'm very, very pleased about how it turned out as a final shot is that if you look at that resurrection type shot, there's light that goes through the wounds in my hands. And you really have to expose your wounds to the light at the end of the day. Light has to shine through it.
Wow. Yeah. Boy, how do I follow that up? Let's talk about the guest people you had on. Bill Hudson, Mickey Richter, a bunch of others on here. How did these people all become involved? Friends or friends of friends, or?
Yeah, I mean, between me and Jonah, because we've both worked in different parts of the industry, 70,000 tons of metal, pyramids, etc. We know a lot of great people between the two of us. And of course, Alex, our producer, knows even more. So Bill, Jonah and I have both been friends with him now for years. And he was more than happy to do a guest solo for us. Really helpful guy. Thank you, Bill. And then for the others, Tasso and Mickey from Leaves, Eyes, and Atrocity were already working in the album as part of the production team. So having them do some guest guitar work was very simple, and they were, again, more than happy to do it. Jake is actually friends with Jonah because Jonah also does the orchestrals for Syra, Jake's band, Nuclear Blast Band. And so Jake, again, super willing to give us some amazing guest vocals there for Cognitive Dissonance. And then Harri Hyttinen, our guest guitarist from Finland, he's probably one of the best up-and-coming young death metal guitarists out there. He's really innovative and phenomenal. Of course, you've heard his work with Kalma, Hammerhead, his new band Clown Parade at this point, and I think he added a really intense, dynamic solo to Mother Dearest. So we got a great cast of guest musicians going on, and I'm really happy we have them.
Excellent. I'll ask Dad this, just because it sounded like he had so much fun doing the first video. Do we have any other videos coming, Matt?
Not that I'm aware of. Truthfully, we're anxious to get on the road and play together in the same room. That's really where the hope is that however it works with various restrictions and other stuff, and however those schedules work, we really want to get out in front of people. We want to play. We think that whatever you've heard recorded, the intensity level and the musicianship you hear live will far surpass that.
Yeah. Interesting thing I want to sort of point towards Zoe, but I'll ask you just to follow up with me on this if I'm doing it correctly. You started out playing in some bands years ago, then you had the kids. You kind of had to set it aside. You went into teaching. Was that your plan B all along, or did that just happen?
So you said I was in bands. We actually had an album out. This is, again, the late 80s. So, there's no internet. There's nothing like that. And then I got married and we had children. Teaching, that was like plan B, but it turned out I liked it. I was really good at it, and I enjoyed it. It was a performance.
Right.
I mean, all you think of all your teachers, they're performers, right?
Yeah. And
so Zoe actually is a superb classroom teacher as well. I got to tell you that. It's just one more performance in that way. And so this was, I basically put music aside. I figured that that was a part of my life. Okay, I did that when I was young. I had no idea it would loop back into my life at this point. I simply could not have imagined it, and not with one of my own kids either.
That just makes it extra special,
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Yeah. So Zoe, Dad mentioned you were a teacher. You are a teacher?
I worked in public education for quite a while. I still substitute occasionally, but it's not my full-time gig anymore.
So, I mean, was it music or bust, or did you have the teaching as your sort of plan B?
It's funny. It wasn't really a plan B. Music was always what I wanted to do. But, throughout the years, people tell you, hey, you need something that's like a real job to plan on, so I did end up going into public education. But like Dad said, it's really a performance. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, here in this part of the States, in Arizona, it's one of the most undervalued professions there are. It's really just the amount of work and talent it takes to keep a classroom full of kids who would much rather be doing something else than listening to this algebra problem.
Yeah.
Keeping them entertained is quite the act in and of itself. So I wouldn't call it a plan B. It's more like what I was kind of pushed into and ended up loving. And I still enjoy substitute teaching, even though now I work more full time in music. I still enjoy the substitute teaching when I do it because it kind of resets me emotionally. Being around kids who are my favorite people on earth kind of reminds me what's important in life,
Very cool. Very cool. My wife happens to be a para who works with a lot of special needs students. So, and
oh, bless her for that. Yes.
She's the SPED para, which Zoe, you did.
I did. That was one of my first jobs in public education. I was a special education parapro. So props to her. Give her a high five for me.
I will do that. And I agree with you with teachers being undervalued. It's the same way out here. What goes into it, so many hours. And if you can get, like she says, if you can get those 5 minutes where you connect and engage and everything, it's so worth it. Like you say, they don't really want to be there listening to all that stuff. And when you can make that connection, it makes it really special. So Thank you both for your work as well. Mm-hmm. So going forward with Catalyst Crime, what happens next? Album comes out in October, then what?
Well, album comes out in October. We have another video coming out in between now and then. It's a lyric video for cognitive dissonance. And then hopefully we're going to be hitting the road this fall, but things are looking really iffy right now with tours. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I can't say yet with that. So if that happens, this tour is going to get postponed. It's still going to happen, but they're already, just in case, I think every tour at this point has their second set of possible postponement dates. So either way, we'll get on the road, hopefully in the next several months. And then we're already looking at recording a new album next year. So.
Excellent. How about Matt? Any future plans for you? You're just rolling with the flow here.
Well, let's see here. So it's my first year retired. So yeah, rolling with the flow. You just to connect up with what Zoe said. I'm really eager to play. I'm really eager to play live. Love playing live. Love connecting with people. Love being out there. Love mixing it up with folks. And we as a band have never actually had a chance to play live, which is very strange for me because in my day you played live, you played in your garage, you did all that stuff pre-internet, and then you actually went to the studio later. It's very strange to flip everything around.
Yeah.
I'm eager to actually stand on the stage with my fellow musicians and give people a good time and really give them the pleasure of live music. So however that comes about, however that mechanism, by what that means, I look forward to it.
Excellent. I always like to end my interviews with just some fun questions. I'm hoping these are questions neither one of you have ever been asked before in an interview. Sound good?
Sure. I'm excited.
All right, we'll start with Zoe, and then Dad can chime in as well on this one. Favorite cartoon character?
Oh wow, that's really, really tough. I think it's probably a cross between Shigo from Kim Possible and, oh gosh, this is so tough. Probably Shigo from Kim Possible and, oh.
Come on, you got to go back, Zoe.
I got to go back. I love Kim Possible because I'm a millennial and Kim Possible was my favorite cartoon. I like Shigo from Kim Possible. I really, really like Race Bannon from Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest. Awesome.
We're seeing the generation gap here. This is going to be fun.
No. She watched Johnny Quest when I was
Johnny Quest.
Father. Oh yeah.
I had the biggest crush on Race Bannon. So.
All right. So Matt, you're going to go with Johnny Quest?
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome. People got shot. That was good. That was good.
All right, Matt. Food better as a leftover, as opposed to like freshly cooked.
Food better as a leftover. Oh man, second day chili.
All right, Zoe.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Always chili tastes better the second day.
All right, Zoe. Have you ever prank called someone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Matt? I prank called scammers who tried to scam me and told me that I had a warrant out for my arrest. So I called them back.
All right. How about you, Matt?
Gosh, when I was young, we actually had to pick up a telephone and turn the dial thing.
Sure.
Those days.
Yeah. Before the days of caller ID,
Yeah, exactly. Then you could actually do it now. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, exactly. Last music you listened to other than your own?
What did I listen to yesterday that I was I've really been into this band Arch Echo.
Okay.
Arch Echo. They're out touring with Dream Theater right now.
All right. Very cool.
And, yeah.
Zoe?
Yeah. I was listening the other day to the new Lord of the Lost album, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Probably one of the best albums that come out this year. And I've also been listening quite heavily to Silver Lake, the new solo album by Asa Holopainen from Amorphous. Just fabulous album.
Cool. Got to start with Matt on this one. Although, I don't know, Zoe, you might this one as well. Matt, favorite old school wrestler?
Favorite old school? So, man, you're going way back here to like, who would be my favorite old school wrestler? Everybody liked Hulk Hogan. That was like the thing with him right now. I have to admit, the guy who was governor of Minnesota, what was the dude?
Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, he had the whole feather boa thing, but he was awesome in Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I'd have to go that way.
All right, Zoe, do you have one?
Well, as a millennial, the one that gets turned into the most memes is Hulk Hogan. So on the basis of meme culture, definitely Hulk Hogan.
All right.
Nacho Libre doesn't count, so
Nacho Libre, I love that movie, but yeah.
All right, Matt, first car you bought with your own money?
Oh, that was the car I brought her home from the hospital in. A Ford Taurus station wagon, 1992.
Wow.
Money from our wedding. By the way, her mother and I celebrate 30 years this coming weekend. So
congratulations.
Fantastic stuff.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Zoe, how about you?
First car I ever bought with my own money was a gold 02 Toyota Camry.
What a piece of crap that was.
Yes, it was. That was the worst.
Disaster.
All right. Last one. This is the one we have the most fun with. If they were to make a biopic of your life, Zoe, what actress would you pick to play you? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Oh gosh, man, because like there was an actress who looked a lot like me 20 years ago, but she can't play me anymore. I don't think. Darn. Because usually people tell me I look like a Nicole Kidman,
Yeah, I can get that.
I love Nicole Kidman. I think, okay, if there was an actor who was going to play my life at this point, I probably would go with Lauren Cohen from The Walking Dead, because she is a fabulous actress. She'd have to dye her hair blonde and pick up a really good American accent, but she'd be my pick probably.
All right, Matt, you've sort of had an advantage here to think about this, but what actor would you have play you?
Oh, Richard Dean Anderson, of course.
Okay.
Well, right.
Excellent.
12. I gotta improvise all the time.
Well, we have been talking to the father-daughter duo of Matt and Zoe Federoff here. They're in the band Catalyst Crime, Zoe on vocals, Matt on bass. The album comes out April 22nd. Look forward to seeing it.
Not April 22nd.
Did I say April?
Yeah, dude, that's too far away.
October 22nd. Man, what a train wreck I am.
Don't want to make them wait that long. Hell.
Yeah, exactly. October 22nd. And I put my notes to the side here just briefly. That's why I was kind of sort of looking for it here. Yes, October 22nd will be when the new Catalyst Crime album is out. We look forward to seeing that. It's been a hoot talking to both of you. Good luck, much success going forward. And we hope you get out there and tour like you want to.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.